Definitely not awake yet. That's it. The boat's done. The fishing is done. There are 3 days of 4:35 in the morning. Done, done, done. And I gotta get the boat out of the water and then get my ass up to the north. But anyway, in the meantime, the emails surged in big time as usual. And see if I can get a handful out here. I got a lot to do. I'm not feeling so good. Something's going on in my jaw up here. Gotta go to the doctor. If there's an infection in there, or I'm clenching my teeth too much, I got a steel plate right here. Another one right up here. Bizarre story from years ago, but I wonder if something's off in there. I don't know. Got some kind of a lump going on back in there and it hurts and shit. Whatever. I got that checked out today. Make sure I'm not exiting the planet right away yet. Maybe something's up. I don't know. I marked one as one to be read last time I was here because it was a bit of a book. I'm going to dive into it. I don't know what it's about. And what else? We were fishing the other evening and about 10 killer whales came through. It's funny, some people get offended because you call a killer whale an orca a killer whale instead of calling it an orca. We'll tell you what, until you've seen those suckers in action, you might change your mind about not calling them orcas and calling them killer whales. I saw a video a little while ago of killer whales pushing a gray whale calf away from its mother and holding it underwater until it drowned and died, and they ripped its tongue out and let it float to the bottom and left. I think Sarah's got some video of them in Squamish, British Columbia. There's hundreds of porpoises got herded into the head of Howe Sound, into a little estuary. The tide went out and they were somewhat safe from some killer whales. And there's a whole bunch of families down there videotaping the killer whales and how beautiful they are, videotaping the porpoises, and all of a sudden the tide came up, the porpoises came out, and the killer whales went to slaughtering all of them. Anyway, check out this video. I'll share a couple clips here if I didn't put them into into the intro video here soon. But we were fishing the other evening, and about 10 of them came all around the boat. So I kept on fishing for a while, videotaping them. Then I realized the motor sound in the background kind of sucks, and the fish are not going to bite now anyway. So I shut the motor off, and they swam and jumped all around us, and one came right up to the back of the outboard motors. Pretty cool. And that's that. So check that. Check these clips out for a second. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let's see what we got here. Well, I'll admit I am a city girl. I've always loved nature and craved anything outside of the concrete jungle most of us call home. One of the first times he took me to the woods, he said that you can't let you freak yourself out. I'm prepared for the worst, hope for the best type, so I understood why he told me that. Well, I laughed my ass off. It was March, I think, like the 18th, maybe closer to the end of the month, and Alex surprised me with a weekend adventure. The weekend ended with us up to this deer shack that we had tried to get to when there was still snow. The snow was too deep and soft to make it through, so we waited till closer to spring. Anyways, so the end of March 2021, he takes me up there. It's maybe 2, 3 in the afternoon, still pretty light when we got there. He lights a fire, we take a meander around the shack and check everything out. After all, this is my first real time out of the vehicle when he's brought me up there. This deer shack has been in his family for decades. I wanted to get to know a place that he adored most of his life, a place he shared with his dad, whom he had lost the December before. The woods was where he always went to get his mind right, which I could fully believe. I have the same kind of solace. So I pushed us to go to the woods. I knew his soul needed, especially now that both of his parents were no longer in this realm. So, we explore the shack and check out the house and just kind of relax and absorb the nature and the beauty of everything. I have never in my 30 years living in this state have ever seen trees as dense as the state forest. It was flabbergastingly beautiful, just astonishing. I'm standing at the fire. It's dark by now. He's got his headlamp on and is on the main gravel trail from on the way in. He loves rocks, like all kinds of rocks. LOL, very passionate. So I'm kind of watching him in the fire. He advised me of predators that were not only known in the area, but bears that him and his dad and family would hunt from the shack. So I mean springtime, woods. I'm very alert. I'm drinking a beer, but alert to my surroundings. It was cold. March in Minnesota is not warm. I mean, it's not usually polar vortex cold like January, but still below 32. I remember putting my hat back and then hearing like these whispers. I couldn't make out what it could possibly be saying, but it instinctively sounded like voices, but so faint that you couldn't distinguish any type of words. I kind of focused on the tree line around us and do a slow 360 in place, just kind of looking for something out of place. Anything that looked different from the last look around. I shook it off, continued drinking my beer. I tried not to put too much energy into it. When they started again, after I shrugged it off, I got this feeling of disrespect, like I was being disrespectful. You know, the kind of shame-esque feeling in your gut that you get when you have hurt someone's feelings really bad? Just out of nowhere, this feeling like I was being disrespectful. So, off the hat came and the whispers stopped completely. I kind of walked around the fire and observed the tree line again, but saw nothing. I looked up at Alex, who was still looking at the rocks in the road, just completely oblivious to anything else. I mean oblivious, not completely oblivious, but more focused down than around him. Again, to shrug it off. Don't let me get to me, remember. I'm an overthinker. I'm also pretty spiritual and believe that we are energy, and when we die, the energy resides, just not in the body in which it was contained. So with that, I do believe spirits get stuck here. And when paranormal happenings are in the process of happening, well, the more thought you give it, the more of it manifests. So paying it no mind is what I tried to do. I was drinking so I could just easily convince myself that my imagination was absolutely getting away from me. Absolutely, it made sense. We started to let the fire die down, and I put my hat on a few more times, but taking it off again when I got that feeling each time I put my hat on. It was really weird that it didn't happen with my hat off. Alex decided it was time to go, but couldn't find his clicker for his truck. By clicker, I mean this little thing to unlock and lock, you know. I shake my head, so he says, we can't leave till we find it. I started having this feeling like there's something watching us. And again, I had a few more beers by this point, so I think it's just my brain. But I genuinely feel unsafe, so I go to the truck. Something told me to go to the truck, and I followed my gut feelings. Alex is mad by this point because of frustration. The clicker going missing is just a nutshell in how life treats him at times, LOL. So he gets mad that I'm not looking more with him, and I tell him how I feel, and he just brushes me off because, with all honesty, I am a city girl, and what do I know? So I try to help looking for it, but no avail. We get in the truck, and then he was so angry that he wasn't going to leave, but he couldn't find the fire door for the wood stove inside. He finally agreed to leave, madder than mad that he couldn't find it. Upon later review, I had taken a video in the late afternoon when we were there, and there was a tree break recorded in it. I also don't remember hearing any tree breaks. I remember hearing noises that I didn't know what they were, so it just made me more cautious of our surroundings. I've never been in dense nature like that before, so I honestly don't know all the forest sounds, LOL. So now fast forward to April 11th, 2021. I get him to agree to go up again, cause PSH, my brain was tripping, whatever. It was just a weird feeling, right? Plus, it was breathtakingly gorgeous. We pack the truck and go. When we get there, we stop for wood at his buddy's place. So then we got on the road leading to the deer shack. We get maybe halfway down this 2-track and come up on this bunching of trees. It was 6 or 7 6-inch to 8-inch in diameter birch trees pushed right over the road. Alex was prepared, being the woodsman that he is. We discussed the plan, because naturally I was like, what are we going to do? Chop our way through or go to the campground for the night? I was fine with either, honestly, but chop his way through, of course. It was quiet, so quiet. I'm sure you could hear his axe from at least a mile or two away. I'm watching the forest for any sign of predators, and that was my job. And I did it happily. He got through them all and was happy attaching the tow rope to pull them when I noticed all the roots of the trees had just chopped through. When I noticed all the roots to the trees he had just chopped through. It was a cluster. So, when whatever happened to them happened, the root system came out of the ground with it. None of the other trees, same size in clusters or out of clusters, were damaged like this. I found it odd that the root system was exposed, as if something pushed the whole thing over. I addressed it when Alex got in the truck. He kind of thought about it, but shrugged it off with a it could naturally happen type of whatever. There's no commas in this, so I'm a little rough. So whatever I said, 2. Onwards to the deer shack. We get there, unload. Alec gets the fire door while I start unloading, and he gets both fires, inside and outside one. We get everything inside and do a little bit of setup for the night so we can eat and sleep. We enjoy it, the calm, the silence, the sheer beauty of Minnesota night sky and clearing in the middle of nowhere. To iterate the level of quiet, he was probably about 30 feet, maybe 50 feet, and we were talking at normal volume. No insects, no animals, nothing. A bird here and there, but otherwise just no sound aside from us and the small bowing sound the trees made when they rubbed against each other in the breeze. I cooked us dinner, and we were standing probably about 7 feet apart, just enjoying the fact that we got to get away, or at least I was enjoying that at that moment, LOL. We decided to go to bed, but lingered silently for a moment longer. In that moment, a thuck happened on the side of the shack. You probably meant thud. The shack was really more like a small cabin. It sounded like most likely a rock. I shoot Alex the same look he shoots me, and I know what I just heard, because his face, I shoot Alex the same look he shoots me, and I know I heard what I just heard, because his face, he heard it too. We just kind of looked at each other and both simultaneously brushed it off, because who would be 7 or 8 miles back in the brush at 2 in the morning in effing April? Effing no one. We go to bed. Mind you, I was adamant about locking the front and back door. I said, if an animal does know how to open doors, maybe it'll be a deterrent. Obviously, if it wants in, it's going to get in. But let me have my happier perspective of life, right? So we'd already had the doors locked. We go to sleep. The next day we're outside, and I got that feeling again as if I was being watched all day. Anytime we were somewhere for more than a few minutes, I'd have that feeling. We drove up and down the main stretch of trail from one highway to the other. On the way back towards the shack road, we had decided to stay a second night. I wasn't ready to leave, honestly, but I didn't want to go back to the city, back to work, back to the tragic grind of working to have barely your basic needs. We go to a nearby town to get food for the night, since we had only packed for one night. When we get back to the shack for the night, it was already dark. It had to have been 10. I don't quite remember, but it gets dark around 6:30, 7 maybe a little bit later. I didn't really look at the clock time. I just knew the time of day, really. So it's like 9, 10, maybe 11 at the latest when we get back from cruising the trails for the night. I cook, we eat, we go to bed, he falls asleep. So I curl up to him to try to sleep too. I normally watch TV to go to sleep, so the lack of stimuli in the woods made it a little hard for me to fall asleep. So as I'm laying there absorbing just how dark it is during a new moon, and I mean dark, so dark that I couldn't see my hand. It was literally touching my nose as I'm laying there, and the front door handle rattles like someone grabbed it and tried to come in. My head shoots straight up off of his shoulder, and all I can hear is my blood pumping in my ears. As I'm intensely listening over the pounding of my own heart, I hear it again. I think to myself, oh hell no. You got me all the way into next year effed up. I shake Alex, nothing but snores. So I think to myself, nope. I've seen the movies, I'm not going to go check that out. I don't care. Nope with a capital nope. Straight up F that shit. So I don't know how long it took, but I finally fell asleep. When we woke up, we were greeted with about 2 inches of fresh white snow. It's the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen, period, hands down. Alex took a video before we left, and in this video you could also hear a tree snap. Fast forward April 18th, we go up again. Every time we are stationary, I have that being watched feeling. The afternoon of the 19th, we went up for a hike up the trail, going away from the main trail that the shack road comes off of. While we're on this walk, I keep a watch behind us for any type of animal that may or may not bring us harm. When we returned from the walk, I was standing where the tree line would be, but in the trail road, and caught a big whiff of what to me smelled skunky. Not weed skunky, but like straight Pepe Le Pew skunky. Like that heavy, musky smell. I'm not gonna lie, I frantically look about and state aloud that I just smelled a skunk smell and I was excited. I love nature and animals, and being out there, I was excited to get to see them in something other than a backlit screen. So I'm looking about, but don't see nothing. Wow. We spent a lot of time outside. I read a lot of my book while he searched for rocks. We ended up staying up all night, him tending to the fires and me reading my book and feeling his energy finally evening out. I go to bed as it's getting light on the horizon. It was going to be pretty, but I knew the crap sleep I was getting up there, I needed at least a few hours. The afternoon of the 20th comes. We're all sitting there silent because we had a small bickering that morning. The back window in the shack was open because it was rather warm in the shack with the wood stove going, and all of a sudden a growl of some kind broke the silence. I looked at him, worried. He looks at me like, oh, gives me a be calm and quiet signal. It's a long one. He waits a few minutes before getting up and looking out the window. He said, all casually, probably a bear, and decided he was going to see if he couldn't find any tracks or see it. I stayed inside and watched him from the window above the sink. He said he didn't see or hear anything else while he was out there. We decided to go on a trail ride since we were staying one more night. We're going to go back that afternoon, but I just wasn't ready to go back to the city. We went to a nearby lake, maybe 2.5 miles as the crow flies away. It was dusk. There was this loon that was so loud, or rather appeared so loud because it was so quiet. April was before any bugs are reanimated, so just crystal clear quiet. It was beautiful. I've heard loons all my life, but never one at that quality and level of sereneness. I was blown away by the sight of the lake with the twilight and this beautiful bird, our state bird no less. Just absolutely awestruck. Alex got out to take a piss and decided to play a joke on me. He took a 2x4 from the back and hit a tree. Thwack, 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 and did it 3 more times. We got in with exclaiming, "What the F is wrong with you?" He knew I believed. Even if I didn't have any proof, he knew I believed in Sasquatch, and he had joked about Tommy knockers before, shaking my head. He then hands me an earbud and says, "I want to see if we can hear that loon even better." He turned on his audio enhancement app that he had and we listened. Just after a few seconds and him turning it up, we hear these footsteps, like human steps, bipedal, no doubt about it. He looks at me and all the color drained from my face, and I have this terrified look. I whisper to him, no one in their right mind would be out there here at dusk, walking around in the brush this far back in April. We hadn't seen more than one other car, the 3 times we had been up there in a month. No one, I said. Who would be out there walking around at this time of day? And this time of year, excuse me. He turned the phone towards the back of the truck, which caused the bud to fall out of my ear. I do not wish to hear anymore because all in one moment I felt about the size of an atom. He told me later that when he turned the phone, he heard them again behind us. And when he turned the phone towards my side, he heard a 3rd set, and then a 4th set down in front of us. We leave the spot where we were parked. We take the long way back to not risk turning around in the truck and the 2-track and going over the ridges. We pass a waterway, and as soon as we get back within the trees, a porcupine comes tearing across the road. well, as fast as it could go. His little butt was all puckered and he was hobbling basically because of its quills. I've never seen one outside of a zoo, but it was a rather hilarious sight to witness one running. It gets out of the road and we continue. I mean, we were driving a little faster than normal, but being mindful of the turns and drops of hills. We get back to the highway. As we approach and turn onto the highway to get back to the trail that leads to the deer shack road, we see 3 deer just outside the tree line, looking at the tree line as if something just chased them out. I've seen deer in town, but never seen a deer with this composure before. I've never seen them with, well, complete terror on their face. We get back on the main trail road and get maybe a mile up the road and a skunk, that's right, the Billy Badasses of the animal world, comes tearing across the road, not giving an F that there's a truck coming down the road at all. And what was even more peculiar was its tail was down. Now, I don't know if you know much about skunks, but they give no Fs, and they rarely have their tail down. Finally, we get back to the shack and it's maybe 11:45 p.m. It was dusk when we left the lake. I can't for the life of me understand how it took us 3 or 4 hours to get back. We didn't. I just don't understand. We took the long way, sure, but not like the long, long way. I don't know. I've mapped it out and it was maybe 10 miles of trail max. We get back to the shack to go inside and immediately start cooking because I just want to eat and go to bed. I had enough excitement. Al decided he needed to start a fire outside, and a big one. While he was out there, I got this sick feeling that I should be watching him. I go to the window. He gets the fire started, and no more than throwing one big log on it, he looked at something off to the side of the shack with this look I've never seen before. It was like straight shock. He turns, and in 2 strides, he's at the driver door, and the 3rd step in the door shut all in one solid movement. I react to this by slowly backing away from the window. Whatever just happened is now on the other side of the wall in which I was just standing and slicing potatoes. He's driving all around the shack, honking and shining his lights wherever he can, trying to scare what was there off. I began to feel panic setting in. I could feel the burning of watching from outside the window above the counter. It was pitch black and I couldn't see a damn thing outside. I back up slowly from the indoor makeshift bathroom that was there and shut the door. It was the only thing I could think of that would allow me to calm myself down so I wasn't exhibiting prey behaviors. So I wasn't panicking. As soon as I did, I knew it wouldn't make a difference and that whatever was out there straight knew I was in the room I was because I know it watched me go in there. You need some commas in here. I finally come out of the bathroom, keep my distance from the windows. After all, I knew what it was. We'd done heard the bipedal footsteps already, so I knew what it was. I was still skeptical, but I was still skeptical, but Alex called me on my phone. This part I need to mention. My phone barely works up there. The reception is shitty, not to mention that I have a boost phone, so reception is bunk, as in the city, not including off the main grid. So he called, and not only did it go through, but we were on the phone uninterrupted for probably 5-10 minutes, maybe 15, before he finally came inside. When I picked up the phone, I said, "What is it? What's going on? You scared me." In the calmest, mannered voice I've ever heard from him or any other human for that matter, he said, "There's something out here, something big, and it's not a bear. It's bigger than a bear. You need to grab your stuff as quickly and as calmly as you can. As calmly as you can. Do not rush, do not run. Do not make any extraordinary movements, but quickly. We'll grab what we can, and we are not staying here tonight." We calmly went back and forth, me turning my back on the windows, knowing there's something gigantic out there. He came in, we got the rest of the stuff that we were taking to the front of the shack by the door. As we were formulating a plan on how we were effectively and safely getting out of the situation, our lantern starts to die. He starts to make a makeshift Molotov and grab some of the bottle rockets. He tells me what he's going to do, but we got to wait for the right time and opportunity. I understand that. So the lantern burns out, and we encumbered the darkness. The only light left is the truck lights because he had been hitting the panic button for the horn and the lights to help ward off, or at least keep it away a little. As we stood there, we realized that the truck was being pushed back and forth in a rocking motion. Alex looks at me, and I know I had a horrified look on my face. I wear my emotions most of the time, and I know my face reflected how I was feeling every moment that night. He said, "Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing?" I replied, "Only if I'm seeing it too." Alex, "The truck rocking, right?" Me, "Yeah." We watched it, and I was watching the headlights to confirm that it was not just the blood pumping making me think it was rocking, but it was because the light was bouncing on the trees. That would only happen if the truck indeed was being rocked. Then the lights shifted about 10 feet on the trees to the side as if something was pushing it away from the deer shack, like trying to get in between the truck and the shack. Alex then walked quietly and slowly over to the window behind the truck, and that when we realized we could see the tree line on that side again. We realized this because there was a birch tree in line of sight from the window from where I was standing by the table. Some time passed. He went upstairs to start to execute the plan. The start of said plan was to launch some bottle rockets from the lift window. Might have meant the left window. He said he took out the screen and was shooting them off. Well, he was up there before. He shot them off. I looked out the front window and became eye-locked with these two red eyes. This is going to make me sound absolutely batshit, but I swear these eyes had to be 11 to 12 feet in the air. I was looking out this window. There was 7 feet away. I was looking out this window. There was 7 feet away, and I was still looking upwards. It was either at the tree line or just inside of it. I don't know. All I saw were these eyes, red with a center black dot. I haven't heard that one, but haven't heard that detail reported before. With the the black dot. That's odd. I didn't feel any of those moments when I was looking it straight in the eyes. No fear, no panic. It was like everything stopped. Maybe I even stopped breathing. I honestly don't know. I just remembered everything stopping. I have manic depression, so when my brain just stops, it's rare, but it just silenced itself. Everything stopped in that moment until something at the window behind the truck caught my attention, broke the eye lock, and when I looked back, it was gone. I fought back and forth with myself on whether it was or was not my headlamp, but if it was my headlamp, it would have still been there when I looked back, and it would have been in the other window when I looked at the one at whatever sound broke. When I looked at that one at whatever sound broke the stare. He starts shooting them off, and I get ready to go and get in the truck. He comes down from the loft, and we go out, and with the worst throw of his life, he throws the Molotov, gets me safely in the truck, and starts going back and forth between the shack and the truck. Calmly, of course, not too quickly. While I'm in the truck, I hear nothing. With the last load, he come out of the deer shack, and you hear this gigantic crack of a tree breaking. He hops in the truck, and we take off. As soon as we got to that flat land again, the woods here are very hilly, but as soon as we hit the plains again, I burst out in tears. It was terrifying, I'm not going to lie. I thought we were going to die that night. After reflection over the last year and a half, I understand that his tree knocking was a line crossed, and that was what caused the interaction we did have. I understand that they understand that I was catching the little things like whistles and weird things that just seems not naturally occurring. I think they were messing with me. And then when Alex did that, it pissed them off and made the negative reaction. I also believe that because I was praying, I guess you could call it, I was calling upon my past loved ones to watch over us and get us safely out of that situation. I kept thinking, please, just let us leave. I'm sorry. Just those two things over and over. I don't know. That's maybe what helped it not go further. The fact of the matter is, if they wanted to hurt us, they would have. If we were on bad terms with them after that, then they would have done something in July after that when we were there. I felt them being watched, so I know they were there, but There wasn't an altercation like on April 20th. Again, I'm so sorry that it's so detailed. I don't know how to do a condensed version other than this without leaving out stuff for jumping around or jumping around. This is in the correct order of events that happened to us from my point of view. Of course, Alex, when he was in the truck and upstairs. That's it. No period, no nothing. It just stops. So there you go, you guys. That was the long book that I came across the last time I was here, and we read it. And it has all the classic characteristics of what's been emailed in here hundreds of frickin' times, right? The red eyes, banging on the cabin, the trees, the feelings, the whole 9 yards. And welcome to the club to another member, right? Yeah. No thanks. The red eyes with black dots in the middle. We haven't heard of the black dots in the middle of the red eyes yet. Nothing I want to see outside the cabin window at all. Whew. All right. I'm not feeling so good right now. I don't know what's up. I'm going to get this done, and then I'm going to go to the doctors and see what's going on. Hopefully it's just the joint in my jaw is screwed up. I don't know, something's going on back in there. Sore lump of something. All right, what do you got here? Thanks for sending that in. It was a long one. It's definitely a long one. For Amy Lucas and the Round Table of Knowledge. All right. Amy, I too have seen the veiled beings you have as a small child. They would frequent my bedroom, and they weren't the monsters that would keep me terrified of falling asleep. It was the monster my mother allowed to live with us. Oof. One particular night, my mother was given money to go out and party, leaving us in the house with the monster. Terrified of falling asleep, I stacked my toys against the door before crawling into bed, and the covers up to my eyes. In the darkest corner of my room, a translucent waving shimmer, as though the room itself became malleable, concealing its appearance but not its shape, and large black holes for eyes, long arms and legs, and a big torso outlined are all that were distinguishable because of the cloaking. Excuse me. Hearing the floorboards creak and the stairs was far more terrifying than seeing/not seeing the being in the corner. When I could hear the floorboards creak just in front of my door, I froze, only my tears streaming down my face. Then just as the door handle turned and opened the door, the creature in the corner slammed against the door so hard I thought the solid oak door would shatter, and the deafening roar that came out of that creature made my bed shake, and I passed out from the pressure in my chest. My mother came home and found him passed out in front of my door, and a huge fight ensued. He said he didn't know how he ended up there, but he never entered my room after. The door is still split down the middle from that night, and although my mother still lives in that house, I refuse to ever go back. That monster did die from cancer, and I'm striving to be a better mother than my own was to me. The veiled creatures generally don't affect our world, as I haven't seen them do anything like that before or since that night. I can't see them as clear as I once did, but my daughter can. For me, they are only fleetingly seeing them as they go. Sensitive children can see them form, and hear them clearer than adults. I want to share this with you so that you would know that you are not alone. We realize it together because of Steve and the Round Table. We are not alone in so many ways. That we once were ridiculed for, that what we once were ridiculed for is real, and our understanding of nature is so much more vast than we could ever imagine. Portals, the veil, and the creatures are a part of nature. We were never taught in school, but learning is lifelong. Thanks, Steve, for making all this possible. Without you, we wouldn't be able to come together, share, heal, and learn from each other. Can the How to Hunt family give a round of applause for Steve in the comment section? No, the applause goes to you and every single person that is brave enough to email in. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for reading this, Steve. You're making a difference to so many. You can use my name, Callie. Okay, Callie, appreciate you writing in. I'm absolutely saddened that you had to have a monster in the house growing up. I'm glad you survived, and you're being a far better parent. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And that's a bizarre story. And it's not something that I'm familiar with at all. But somebody wrote in before looking for some kind of support, help, or somebody seeing the same shit, and you did. There we go. It's a win. Speaking of other wins, you guys, when I mentioned what the scientist said earlier about the CO2, when I give out any quotes of anything, whether I'm right or I'm wrong, just so you guys understand what I'm doing here, is 100% of the time I encourage all of you to look into things yourself. So, for all you people that wrote into me replies to the CO2 thing in the planet, or even possibly comment in the comment section below, regardless of your stance or what you emailed me in, is what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is you looked into it yourself and you shared what you found out and you encourage other people to do the same. I win. Bingo. Perfect. That's what we need everybody to do, right? Everybody needs to look into everything themselves thoroughly. Don't just listen to somebody tell you something and jump on that bandwagon and go with it. You have to look into everything yourself when it comes to everything, especially today. All right? You have to. So, regardless of the demeanor, the delivery of some people getting angry at me or not, with what I share, what I suggest, I don't care, as long as you are getting back to me and you're listening and you're sharing and you're looking into shit. That's what I'm about. All right? And what I believe shouldn't matter to any one of you, what I believe or not. Hope that made sense. Hope it made sense. Okay, what's this one? It's titled Sasquatch. It's very short. Steve, I've seen Sabby twice in 25 years of hunting. And just wandering around the Cascade Mountains in Oregon, had a boulder thrown at me for good reason. Pine cone thrown, roars and screams. They seem comfortable hanging around my home here in the mountains as well. None of this is important compared to the real reason government wants Sasquatch to stay within the realms of myth and legend. They are kept hidden by government for the exact same reason the native Indians were killed, maligned, and then hidden from European eyes during the colonization of America. The elite of this world do not want a real and working representative of a truly free society. That alone would destroy the elite's platform and reason for existence completely. On a side note, I have communicated with them. Most are fairly laid back, but I did have one visit one night and throw that fear vibe on me while sleeping. He's just being an asshole. My wife never believed me until one roared, whooped, and chest beat right behind our house at 3 a.m. Should have seen her eyes. LOL. Thank you for what you do. Signed, nobody. All right, man. I think I somewhat agree with you on your theory of what's going on, whether kept unknown, or this is kept unknown from us. It's definitely not about money from timber. It's not. This is too big. This is way too big, this topic. Way bigger than just a simple animal in the woods. And if you've been in contact with these things and you're that familiar with them, why don't you share with us something that'll help us? If you have knowledge directly learned from these beings that you think is going to help somebody here, email it into me, all right? Write her up. I don't give a shit how long it is, but if it's going to help somebody, then scratch it out and send it in to me, all right? I'd appreciate it big time. Big time. Now, all right, this isn't too long. I'm going to go another one, and I got to get my button gear. I got to line up a boat hauler to get my boat lined up to get it home. Then I got to pack my shit. Got to go to the doctor to make sure I'm not dying, and then go up to where a chunk of my soul is sitting there waiting for me in the mountains to reunite. A really crazy thing happened to me and my female friend a few years back. I've never told anybody until now. Perfect. Steve, thanks for being here for people and willing to listen. Listen to this crazy story. We have never told anyone until now about what happened to us, and boy did it happen. It scared us very badly. This happened about 15 years ago. We've not forgotten it. We do not know what had happened. We did not see Bigfoot. I wish that we had seen Sasquatch instead of what we did see. We later figured out that we saw the shadow people or the little people. Anyone who has seen the shadow people, anyone who's seen them knows you don't want to see them. They will mess with you. You cannot really see them directly. You see them out of the corner of your eye and you hear them. You can never unsee what we saw. They do exist. And if you're a bad person, they can manifest what is in your heart, whether there be bad, evil, or good. They do not bother us because we only want the better things for people. We do not wish anybody or any being anywhere anything bad. Now, anybody having problems with the shadow things, you all have to do, sorry you guys. Now, anybody having problems with the shadow things, all you have to do to get rid of them is just confess it with your mouth that they need to go. And stop doing whatever it is you're doing that is not good. They'll leave. There's some people out there who are sick and really crazy, and if they wanted to, they could use these shadow people to do harm. All you have to do to get rid of them is to say they are not welcome, and they must leave. You must say, in Jesus Christ's name, I command you, you leave my house and leave us alone. You must say, Jesus Christ, amen, to go away, and they will. This is a true story. Fantastic as it sounds, I've never thought about telling you this. I just thought that when you're talking about the Bigfoot people. But I've heard you talking about other things also. Thank you for listening. I do feel better now. Thank you. My girlfriend is mad at me now. Oh well. Get glad in same panties they got mad in. God bless you and your compassion and your lovingness to help. If you're ever in Central Texas, stop. I'll buy you a cold beer or 2 or 3. And make some cowboy brown beans and cornbread. I miss those meals. I've had a lot of those meals in the South and Texas. All right, well, that was a little different of an email in. You didn't really give us a exact detailed experience. You gave us a vague email of what can happen or what they do or whatever, but you didn't really tell us exactly what happened. What did you see? What did you see? Where were you? Huh. All right, well, there you go. Shadow people. Am I familiar with them? Nope. Am I familiar with shadows? Imagine how many shadows I've seen in the woods possibly move, and who knows what it was. More than likely game animals, but you never know, right? Anyway, that was a little bit of a different volley of emails today, wasn't it? I don't really see anything helping anybody here in these. I guess it helped the people that emailed in. Like I said, the last email said she never shared that before, but you still didn't really share your story of exactly what happened, right? So, I'm going to do one more here. See what this person wrote in. I have so many frickin' emails, you guys. There are hundreds and hundreds. A night I will never forget. Hi, Steve. My name is Lacey. I've been watching your videos with our family for a long time now. I've always been a believer, but I never did expect to find myself having my own experience. My family and I live in a small town in Ontario. We own a large piece of property just outside of the town, down Bush Road. Ever since we started clearing some of the trees, we've had weird experiences. One that stands out was when we were sitting in the car. The lights were off and we were listening for bears. Out of nowhere, we heard a loud scream thing from directly behind the car. The voice was deep and it lasted so long, we left immediately and went home. Well, things for me personally have been quiet since then. That is until tonight. I decided around 8 p.m. that I'd go for a car ride. I took my mother and sister, 11 years old, with me. We drove some time, and around 9, I dropped my mother off at home and went back out with my sister. Well, we drove a long time, and then it got dark, so I decided to take her home. We love looking for bears and deer, so I decided I'd drive to the very end of our road and then return home. We hoped to see a bear, so I drove very slowly looking into the brush. Once we got far down the road, nearing the end, I suddenly saw a dark figure standing near a tree just off the road. My heart felt like it fell into my stomach, and I was sure I'd throw up. I didn't dare stop the vehicle. Rather, I sped up a bit and locked the doors. The yellow eyes of the creature seemed to stare at the vehicle, watching closely as we passed. My little sister joked, saying, "That tree looked like it had eyes." I honestly don't know if she saw it or not, but I just laughed a little and said, "Fireflies." Genuinely, inside I was terrified. I've seen bears, deer, moose, and so many other animals, and nothing has ever scared me like that. That's exactly why I don't let my sister know how scared I truly was. I let her believe nothing was wrong, but in reality I was so scared I couldn't even let my gaze fall into the bush again. My eyes stayed firm to the road until I got her home. I sent her inside and asked my mother to come with me to see if we could find the bear I saw. I asked her to drive though, because at this point I was shaking so badly. We went back to where I said it was, and she explained to me that there was this bear. We went back up to where I said it was, and she explained to me that where this bear I told her about would have been standing is a 6-foot deep ditch. It was in that moment that I realized that what I saw must have been at least 10 feet tall. It was also further back than I had originally thought, meaning this large animal is even larger than I believed. This is when she looked at me and said, "Lacey, did you see a Sasquatch?" I honestly just broke down right there. I couldn't stop myself from crying. I wanted a different answer. I wanted something that felt logical, but I knew that's what I saw. I likely won't be telling anyone due to the fear of judgment. I'm genuinely having a hard time simply rereading this for spelling errors because I can't believe it's my own words. I had to share this with someone. So if anyone can take anything out of this, I hope you understand that you truly aren't alone, and that it's okay to be afraid when seeing these things. Thanks to you for your doing. Because of you, I have the courage to write this, and I feel well enough that I won't let this scare me out of the bush. Hell, I'm 17. No Sasquatch gets to ruin the bush for me this young. That's a promise. If they want to be around, that's fine, but they still have to share this space. It's my home too. Sorry for such a long email, Lacey Bennett. Lacey, thank you so much for emailing that in. And I was the exact same age as you when I seen that thing, that being standing on that rock, looking down on me. And I'm super, super stoked that you have got everybody here to listen to and to write into. Because like when I was your age back then, there's nothing. I couldn't talk. There's nowhere to go. There's nobody to talk to, nowhere to go, right? You just kind of wonder what the hell's going on until finally, 9 years later, so my grandfather looked me square in the eyes and told me about the one he had seen in the middle of the day in July. Standing there looking at him. And that was how I got confirmation, right? There definitely wasn't tens of thousands of people emailing in confirmation back then that I could find and see. But anyway, how do you break it to your sister? Because we have to figure out how to be absolutely honest with everyone, especially the children, right? How do you bust out the truth to children without traumatizing them and ruining their future experiences they might normally have, or passions, which might include going to the woods, right? Wildlife photography, hunting, camping, hiking, whatever. It's a toughie, right? How do you share the absolute truth with the children? I've had a couple of people write in and actually share with us how they share with the children. It's a tough thing, right? It's a tough position we've been put in this lifetime, not being told the truth is so much. It's put a lot of us in a very, very tough position of trying to navigate and figure out how to share the truth with so many people that need it, right? I guess that's what we're slowly doing. I mean, anybody can come on here and listen to the people, right? But I don't know. It's a tough one. What would I do? What would I do if there's a little one here? We have young nieces, etc. here, family members here, and one thing I have a rule is the dog's always outside. Obviously, nobody is ever out of sight of us. But anyway, I gotta go. I gotta get this out. I gotta start organizing my shit, getting ready to go. I'm gonna go to the doctor here in an hour and see what the hell's going on in my head. And no, it's definitely not teeth. It's like way back at the back of my jaw and then push up like that far past your last tooth on the top. And there's a frickin' pain in there and a bit of a lump. And I think it might be possibly due to my jaw being offset. I mean, grinding my teeth, maybe, I hope. So I don't need an infection in my head, right? That would suck. I don't think it is. But I can feel and hear almost like meat grinding in my ear when I open and close my jaw. I think it's my jaw's off. Unfortunate, but here we go. I'll be back shortly. I'm going to share much, and very, very soon I'm going to be sharing from remote places again. Finally, thank God. Send it in, man. Send in what you got. Send in help. Send in what either helps you directly by getting something off your chest, or share with us something that's going to help somebody, all right? It's very, very important to do that today. I'll be back.